Because what happens for me is that I think, oh, and I should be doing something, and all my creative projects are not really coming along. I finished my novel and I don't know what to do with my life. Actually, I have so many projects on my to-do list or one to-do list, however you want to call it. And it's things like movie projects and short scripts and poetry and things like that. Sometimes it's even just like brainstorming a new website and things that genuinely excite me. Like, I love this stuff. There's nothing that excites me as much as creating something meaningful. And yet, for the past 2 weeks, I found myself doing absolutely nothing. Like, I didn't really write, I don't know, work on my portfolio that I thought I was gonna tackle once I'm done with writing. And I have even not been taking care of myself properly. Like, I slipped right past all of the good habits I had, like reading or meditating or stretching, like things that I know are good for myself. With stretching especially, I can feel if I don't stretch every day, my body will let me know that my laziness is not helping at all. And I sat down with a friend once on Thursday last week, and I wrote down all of these things that I really want to do. And they're all projects, and most of them aren't that big, because for my writing project, this book, I have been working on this book for 7 years now, and now it's with my beta readers, and I know I'm gonna get it back. Like, it's not I sent it to an agency and now we're gonna publish it and that's the work. No, like, I have to wait for 2 months and then I'll get it back, and then there's a whole lot to do. But still, I cannot not do anything for 2 months until it's back. And so I tried focusing on a small writing award that we have around here. And I really like the idea that I had. And it's short, like it's about 12 or 15 pages long. And I already wrote it and I just had to edit it. That friend of mine, she gave me some input and I took some hours to put her feedback in, and it's just like 2 or 3 changes and they're a little bit bigger, and so I didn't feel like doing them. And I still have time, like the award runs until the end of March, so there's actually no pressure. Also, like, there's no deadline. For writing my book, there was no deadline, but I felt compelled to get it done as fast as I could. Or maybe not as fast as I could, because that would kind of mean that it lacks quality, but like in a good amount of time, which was 6 months for me. Like, I wanted to have it finished until the end of year, and I knew that was possible because I did things like that before. But with this, it's still so far and it's just some small changes. And while I love the story, it doesn't feel as meaningful. And I think it is. I think the story, it's about a woman writing letters about how she hates sunsets. And the grand idea of this, I really like it. But at the same time, it doesn't spark the same fire in me as my novel did. And it's something that I have been pondering, and I wrote in my journal about it, just right here. And I guess the way to go about this is with self-compassion, but I know how hard it is, and that's why I thought I should record this, because there's so many of us creatives out there, and we rush from project to project to project. And I guess once there's nothing left to do, nothing like as big that we can work on for months and months and months on end, it can feel like there's no purpose anymore. And while we should actually take some time off and take it slow and wait for inspiration to come to us, I feel like I desperately hang on to anything that's creative, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is it, or this is it, or this is it. So that's why with all of the projects I have here, I'm not so passionate because they're so small, and yet they're all in my mind. Like I think, oh, I still need to send that email for the music rights, and I still need to do those 3 little edits, and it's just like I kind of don't finish things. But because they're so small and because they don't have a deadline and because I'm not as passionate and focused on them, I'm sure if I would go back to my movie, I could now send that email, and then in a week or so I would get a feedback from the label, and depending on that I could add the music and then finally submit the movie to some short film festivals, and so on and so on. Like things would start moving again. But also I just miss my writing project. It feels like my 2 people have been ripped out of my life. And yeah, I'm kind of letting myself feel everything. But what I try to do is not to be too hard on myself. Because what happens for me is that I think, oh, and I should be doing something, and all my creative projects are not really coming along, and there's a new YouTube video, I only have 6 more days to go, and I still need to film, and I still need to edit. It kind of puts the pressure on things that, I don't know, I like things, I like to do things, I like having a purpose, but I tend to not be the nicest person to myself. I guess the right approach to this would be to just sit down and, as I did, journal all of my thoughts and maybe why I feel like the other projects are not as purposeful and what to do about it. But also, I think we often fall into the trap of comparing projects. And just because I worked on my novel for 7 years doesn't mean that my Sunset project is not equally as purposeful, just because it only took me 2 weeks to write because it's so short. There's something about it that cannot be compared, and yet so many of us do it. And I feel by talking about it, it can sometimes help other people to see that they're not alone, and maybe we just have to feel everything as hard as it is. I would much rather feel compelled and being pulled into the next project and have a creative spark and be like, oh yes, now I can tackle my short movie finally. But I'm not. And that's also fine. We have to learn how to be fine with having slow times and with not being as fulfilled. And maybe for me, this should be the time of getting into reading again, of slowing down, of really just getting up in the morning, getting a little bit of exercise in, working my full-time job, and then not spending all of my evenings and all of my weekends for my creative projects like I often tend to now, but instead focus on finding new inspiration, or just not doing anything, which means reading or journaling or free writing or doodling or just any kind of passion that's not tied to success. That could be sewing for me. That's a hobby I would like to try, and I know I will not make any money with this or try to attempt and create a fashion label. Maybe you do, then this advice does not count. But for me, that's a creative hobby that I don't think of as something bigger. Because with writing, it's always like, oh, this could be published, or this might actually win something, or whatever. Like, it's always thinking, how do I make this better? How do I make this blah, 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 blah. And then maybe instead of like forcing myself to be creative and to write like I do so often, like sometimes I'll just sit and stare at the page and be like, please be creative. And I'm not. I'm just not, because nobody can be creative like that. So this should actually be the time of learning how to deal with all of these emotions and deal with being bored. Like, that's a big thing for me, and not falling into kind of negative habits thanks to boredom. But also the time for research, because there's many also like historic projects maybe that I would like to take up eventually. And sometimes like just focusing on things, it doesn't have to be reading. I mean, maybe it's just like researching, which is also reading, but like a Google search can go a long way, and or a Skillshare class or whatever. Things like that are great to start somewhere, and also great so you have something to focus on for now until the next big thing strikes. What I did is I took the Nathaniel Drew Skillshare class, and I really, really liked it. And I think my top tip from him for new YouTubers was to record a video of 10 minutes length at least for the next 10 days. And that's what I tried to do. So it's just like free thoughts. I don't have a script. Maybe I'll try something like that another day. And I don't have to publish all of the videos, but I'm trying to get into the habit of recording to make myself more comfortable with this camera. And that's about it. So if you have any thoughts regarding this topic, please comment them down below. Here on my channel, I also try to post vlogs now, but the main thing, I guess, is like talks, is advice. I call it big sister chats. And basically it's everything that bothers me and maybe bothers you too as a young adult. Every life advice I have gathered so far around just topics that swirl in my mind. And if you're interested in that, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. It's still uncomfortable. Believe it or not, it's still really uncomfortable.